It may sound like the advice of a kid, but it is the #1 thing you need to win games. If your deck can't reliably clear an opposing multi-strike Dragon Dragius, you're going to be wiped off the board and lose the game incredibly quickly. Monsters with naturally high stat lines like Yami Ruler the Dark Delayer and skills to help them get over the opposing boss monster are preferable, but this Ancient Forces deck is another great example of the principle in action, capable of easily establishing boards with multiple monsters with more than 2,500 attack, including a 3,000 attack point Ancient Arise Dragon that is able to more or less ignore your opponent's trap cards like the Barrier. But not every deck needs to raise their attack. Being able to debuff the opponent with cards like Lightning Bolt Condor works just as well. In contrast, Ride Across fails in spectacular fashion. While the deck is able to search out Rightful Magic, the once per duel effect pales in comparison to every other attack modification skill, like Ancient Forces and Dragonic Resonance, which can be used every turn for a 1,000 total point boost. And although their main boss monster can be boosted to 2,700, this is not enough to be able to beat through an opposing Dragius if they have any form of protection, and requires you to end on a monster that's unable to clear opposing level 4s. And that brings us to our second ingredient for success, handling trap cards. The main way to do this is raw destruction. Dragonic Slayer has become the icon for Dragonic Resonance decks due to its ability to work through the opposing back row. Yami Ruler players can use Dark Ruler Battle Slash as a combination spell trap removal and monster protection, and the winner of the Goha Rush Festival was using a Hammer Crush Deal deck to destroy trap cards at minimal investment. When a deck doesn't have any natural forms of removal, sometimes you can just choose to muscle your way through. Spice the Elite Noble Ninja provides field-wide buffs that make cards like the Barrier worthless, and can even provide lethal through a Widespread Ruin. And speaking of Widespread Ruin, you can use Spice's boost to protect your other important cards like Dragius, making Spice the Elite Noble Ninja take the fall for them. Ingredient number 3, Advantage Engines. A quick glance at Duel Links meta will show that nearly every single Rush Duel deck from the festival is no longer banlist compliant, and that's because it all boils down to the Seahorse Carrier hit. Some players are quick to dismiss the importance of card advantage in Rush Duel, thinking that since you draw 5 cards every turn, it's fine to be a little bit reckless. But if you want to establish a 2-boss board, you're going to need 6 cards. Whether it's Seahorse Carrier or Pocket Pocket Chew, every successful deck has some way to generate this extra card, and some even run Currybot alongside these engines for additional fodder. If you look at post-banlist builds of Dragonic Resonance, you'll find that every single one has chosen to keep at least 1 copy of Pitcher, as all of the bosses don't matter if you can't summon them. And the only thing better than summoning a boss monster is summoning 2. Or maybe even the same one twice. And that's why ingredient number 4 is Recursion, specifically for your high-level monsters. This may sound very similar to generating advantage, but you don't actually need to go +1. Take, for example, Monster Reincarnation. If you activate this card from your hand, you're going to end up with fewer cards than you started with. But being able to get that extra copy of your limited 3 card can and will win games. I think Red Eyes decks are the best example of this principle, as Black Dragon's Chick is able to constantly turn itself into the Red Eyes Black Dragon thanks to the Black Dragon Rising skill. This allows you to keep your boss count low without sacrificing any consistency. Phoenix Dragon fills a similar role in Ancient Forces decks, and with recycling from Clear Ice Dragon, those 3 copies of Ancient Arise will feel like 5. This isn't perfect though, as running 2 Clear Ice Dragon and a Phoenix Dragon is going to leave you without Dragius, the poster child for our 5th ingredient, handling passive boards. If your opponent sets 3 monsters face down, a good deck is going to have some way to punish this. Dragius and Twin Edge Dragon can attack multiple times to clear boards. Piercing Samurai and Kime Ruler are able to push for damage through piercing and direct attacks, and Torn of the Windweaver allows you to switch a monster's battle position. I've listed this as the final ingredient because it is the easiest one to get away without. If your opponent is passively setting monsters, this gives you time to establish a powerful board backed up by traps that will stop the opponent's eventual counterattack. But it won't always work. If a Noodle player knows you can't push for damage, they can spend a turn or 2 biding their time, setting up the graveyard with normal monsters while digging for combo pieces before unleashing an unstoppable push. If you've ever played a Yami Ruler deck and lost after chaining multiple delay directives in a row, you know the importance of finding ways to deal damage. With this new framework in mind, let's evaluate some of the decks currently popular in Duel Links. Up first is Dragonic Resonance. Their skill boosts their monsters above 2,500 and makes it easy for Slayer to destroy trap cards. Triad Drago and the Sports Dragons allow for 6 or even 7 card hands, resulting in huge tempo swings. Phoenix Dragon is able to swap a card from the hand for any previously seen boss monster, and Twin Edge Dragon is able to attack twice to beat over those set 3 boards. The deck meets all 5 ingredients for success, and it's no wonder it has been so popular. Next up, we have the Festival Winners deck. They clearly recognize the importance of our first ingredient, as the deck runs not only Ancient Arise Dragon, but also 7 other cards that can debuff or buff monsters. Hammer Crush Deal destroys trap cards at minimal cost, and Pog Pikachu is able to get that advantage going. We may not have Phoenix Dragon in this one, but with Monster Reincarnation and the Barrier, we're able to put our monsters back in the deck and get those high levels in rotation. And with 3 copies of Dragius, you know the opponent is getting punished if they play passively. Once again, we find that the meta deck has gone 5-4-5. When we head into Tier 2 territory, things start to miss the mark. Here is a 7th Axel Road list that got top 10 in the Rush Festival. The 30th card is a Torn of the Windweaver, but I didn't buy the structure deck with real money, so I don't personally have it. Anyway, we have plenty of attack points with 7-Zone Magician, buffing itself all the way up to potentially 3,900, and Axel Wondersplat and 7-Zone Witch both being able to get over 2,500 as well. Pog Pikachu provides that advantage engine we are looking for, and Torn of the Windweaver is here to beat passive boards. However, without Hammer Crush or Ghost Cyclone, the deck has no way to reliably deal with opposing trap cards. And without any copies of Recovery Force or the Barrier of our own, we're not able to put our high-level monsters back into rotation in our deck or our hand, except for with a single copy of Monster Reincarnation. This deck only has 3 of the 5 ingredients, and it makes sense it is a tier lower than the others. How about the fan favorite Noodle Ninjas? Once again, the deck excels at buffing their own monsters, can make use of Seahorse Carrier to generate card advantage, and clears away passive boards with Dragius and Innocent Lancer. However, the deck runs into the exact same problems as the Spellcasters, having no way to remove opposing back row, and no way to recycle Spice the Noodle Ninja without Monster Reincarnation. Once again, scoring 3 out of 5. Finally, let's take a look at a deck I consider to be quite bad, Ride Across. I am going to show a list from Tomato Source's channel, and I'm not saying that they are bad at building decks. I'm saying that the strategy itself is worse than most others in the game. So with that clear, let's hop over. Ride Across can be buffed a little bit with Hilt, but it isn't enough to actually beat over a 2,500 monster if they have the Barrier. So we see that an entire 7-Zone Magician engine has to be shoved into the deck to try to make it function. Additionally, they don't have any spell and trap removal in engine. The skill blocks them out from every single advantage engine in the game, and even though there's a copy of Pierce, you can forget about dealing with set cards if Hilt can't even clear a Kana. The only point this deck has going for it is a near endless recursion loop with Ride Across and Seath, but generating these resources is not going to help if those resources can't actually threaten the opponent. I hope this video has given you the ability to evaluate new decks and even help you build your own off-meta brews. Include the ingredients of success, and the results may surprise you.